Welcome to this modern Indian lecture series. In this lecture we are going to take chapter 3 and it is the part 3 of it. We have already uploaded part 1 and part 2 and similarly for the chapter 1 and 2. In this lecture we are going to take Battle of Palasi and Buxar and British occupation of Bengal. And this is from your Bipin Chandra Pal books. So the Battle of Palasi and the Buxar has been separately taken by myself. The notes, all things will be is all handwritten, and the British occupation of Bengal. So all the text are from this book only. Okay. So for the better explanation of the British occupation of Bengal, I have separately taken this Battle of Palasi and the Buxar, and because of that, the lecture is going to expand little bit of that. I think the half of the lecture will be a Battle of Palasi and the Buxar, and then half of it will be the British occupation of Bengal, where the most of the things will be repetitive in nature. When as we already will be like we'll discuss all those things in the Battle of Palasi and the Buxar. Okay, moving ahead to this lecture, I will request you to please go through this video till then so that you will have a complete picture of it. Further, I will request you to please subscribe this channel. This is a new channel. I really need your support. So first, how this Battle of Palasi and the Buxar was built, like from where it started, how this build up started, this that causes your Battle of Palasi, and similarly the Battle of Buxar, where in both the cases the Indian side lost, and the Battle of Palasi was known as most of the war that was not actually fought. Okay, so it was like British won uh, clearly without any major loss, even if we say no loss at all. Okay, and the Battle of Buxar proved the British as a strong ruler for the India, that made them to show to the world that yes, the British power is actually ruling right now in India. Okay, so all those things we are going to see. So after the Mughal was coming into an end, there was the number of successive Mughal states formed. So as we will see, like Awadh was formed, then your Hyderabad was formed, then your Bengal formed. So similarly most other states were formed. Okay, and we'll see that Maratha kingdom became formed, then your Mysore one, then Sikhs, and also these were like rebellious states. Okay, okay, so these Maratha one and the Sikh one, all those were the rebellious state, and there was one state that was called as successive state. So two things was in the divided Mughal state was divided into the rebellious and the successive state. The rebellious one was like that we have completely detached from the Mughal empire, and the successive states was that we are following the Mughal empire and we are ruling under the Mughal empire, but we will have a separate independent government. Okay, that kind of mindset was there. So so the Mughal empire coming to an end, there was a number of successors happened. The Mughal states, these states were one which were established after the death of a strong central ruler of the erstwhile governor, that is one none other than your Aurangzeb. Okay, so basically the Mughal deterioration has started from your 1707, but after that Muhammad Shah and all, Bahadur Shah and all, we will see that uh, they came and they were good in the ruling scene, but actually the strong rivalry started. That the decline was proved to be from the 1724. Okay, so the Nizam ul Mulk Asaf Jahan, initially the Governor General, who later became the Nizam of Hyderabad. So it was like he was actually ruling into the Mughal erstwhile. After that, when he thought that we are unable to rule the central Mughal authority because of the corruptions and all, so he left the empire, and no greediness was seen at the time, and he went to the Hyderabad and became the Nizam of that. Okay, so effectively after 1724, he was around 1719, I think the guess was there. Okay, we will see. So the Nizam ul Mulk Asaf Jahan, initially governor, who later became the Nizam of Hyderabad, effectively after 1720. Okay, that's what I was telling. Okay, no, sorry, effectively after he was from 1724, and the that your Nawab of Bengal was formed from your 1719, that is after 1719 your that Nawab of Bengal was formed. Okay, and after 1724 your Nizam of Hyderabad formed. Okay, so So how it was working? So this story is building up your for the battle of Palasi and the Buxar. Why this was important? So it is important like how the governorship is changing and how the deterioration of the Mughal will come, and that cause the British will indulge into the fights and all. Okay, so that is right now whatever I am discussing is building a platform, is building a platform for the battle of Palasi and the Buxar. Okay, so the Nizam of Hyderabad was there. Then your Bengal, that your Nawab of Bengal, Murshid Quli Khan, was governor of under the Aurangzeb, and after his death he became the autonomous ruler under the Bengal, like the Nizam of Hyderabad he formed. Okay, now we will see they both declared as an autonomous ruler but not an independent one. So that's why they are called as a successive estates. Okay, it was like they are working under the prayers, whatever will be done under the name of central Mughal authority, but we will be ruling as an independent one. Okay, so they maintain the symbolic association with the central Mughal ruler, such as Friday prayers were held in the name of central Mughal ruler. Coins were issued under the name of Mughal Empire into the central Mughal ruler name. Murshid Quli continued the same thing. This thing is written for the both one, the Nizam and the Nawab. Both Nizam is for Hyderabad, Nawab is for Bengal. Murshid Quli also continued to share a part of the revenue that was raised from the Bengal with the central Mughal ruler. So he was sharing some amount of the money, like as you know the Chauth and the Sardesh Mukhi, all kind of stuff. So similarly he was sharing some kind of percentage with the central Mughal authority. Okay, but later we will see that this thing will be also will be overcome. Okay, so they were erstwhile the member of Mughal nobility, and they were called as the successor states. Okay, what they are called as? They are called as a successor states. Okay, the Bengal and the Hyderabad were two most important states, and other were also present like Awadh, that is present in your Uttar Pradesh region. Okay, so these three were the mainly successive states that were famous for it. Okay, so which are the three successive states that was known as famous? That was one was your Bengal, other was your Hyderabad, that is your Nizam, and another was your for Awadh. Okay. Okay, these three were successive states, and the rebellious one is the Maratha, Sikhs and all. So the Bengal and the Hyderabad were the two most important states, and other were also present like Awadh, Uttar Pradesh region, and there were some rebellious states who where military was maintained by the Mughals only, but where the weakening of the Mughal central rule, they started to rebel against the Mughals, such as Maratha, Jat, Sikhs, and etc. Sikhs and other regions. So what does it mean? It means like as soon as these states observed that Mughal central ruler is turning into a weaker region, then they made themselves as an independent ruler. Okay, by the fights and all, if even. Okay, so that's why we call them as a rebellious one, and successive one is like we will be working under the inherently. Successive means we are accepting the supremacy of Mughal central ruler authority, and we will work under him. Okay, we will work under the central Mughal authority. Okay, now what was the cause of battle of Palasi and the Buxar? Okay, in 1719, as I have said in the previous slide, 1719 your Nawab was formed, and in 1724 your Nizam was formed. Okay, so in 1719 Murshid Quli established autonomy in Bengal. In 1724 Murshid Quli died the natural death, that is for the Bengal region only. Okay, and in 1729 for the Bengal part, because right now I am building a background for the Palasi. Okay, and Palasi is the background for the Buxar. Okay, so that's what I am explaining here. So in 1724 he died, and it was a natural death, nobody killed him. Now in the 1729 Alivardi Khan came into the power. He was the military commander under the Murshid Quli. Understand? He was the military commander under the Murshid Quli Khan. He came into the power with the support of key member of the nobility within the Murshid Quli Khan. So it is like, as I said in the previous lecture, the power of the authority in the Mughal Empire after the death of mainly with the Aurangzeb, the power was lying between the nobles. Okay, like Turani faction in the nobles also three factions were there: Turani faction, Hindustani faction, and one was another more faction. Okay, similarly, when we will see, the power was actually not under the king of in the Maratha kingdom. It was not under the rule of the kings, but it was under the Sardars. Okay, so these things were seen at that time. Okay, and thus the power was lying between the at the time nobility, and thus due to the nobility members with some political agenda, the military commander of the Murshid Quli Khan became the emperor. Okay, so he came into the power with the support of who? With the nobility member within the court of Murshid Quli Khan, and he was supported by the merchant bankers. And who was merchant bankers, and why they were so much important for the battle of Palasi and Buxar, we are going to discuss. They were so much important for the whole scenario, because they British got support from them only. And how they were so important, we will see. Okay, so he was supported by the merchant bankers, and the two famous merchant bankers were Jagat Seth brothers. Okay, they aided the rise of Alivardi Khan, and under Alivardi Khan, the province of Bengal flourished. How? We will see. What was the role of the main scene was the role of Jagat Seth brothers. Okay, the main was the Jagat Seth brothers role. It was very important in both the cases. And who were Jagat Seth brothers? They were merchant bankers. And what these merchant bankers used to do? They used to provide loans. And why people used to take loans? See what happens. There was a certain kind of tax that farmers or the peasants have to pay. Okay, let us take a scenario. In a particular month or in a particular year, monsoon was not very good, and due to that the agriculture product will be affected. Okay, now as the agriculture product will be affected, they will not be able to pay taxes. Understand? Now if they are unable to pay taxes, the king will ask for the tax. You have to pay tax certain how. I don't care whether the monsoon was good or the monsoon was bad, I want my tax. That was the case. In that scenario, this agricultural people, these farmers will go to the merchant bankers and they will take loan from them. And due to this scenario, this merchant banker became very important for that period. Okay, so they were the who for which the state was running. Let us suppose a scenario, weather was not good, people need loans. Let us suppose this merchant bank will say, I will not give you loan. What they will do? Then they have to sell their land or give on the lease or whatever the scenario. Maybe the worst. So that's why these merchant bankers become very important, because they became the loan giver. Okay, they used to give loan to the farmers or to the people who were in the need. Okay, and that British understood, and they captured, they control these merchant bankers. Okay, so in 1756 Alivardi Khan died with the natural death, and he actually broke all the marked with the Mughals at that time. How? What he done? See, Alivardi Khan was for Bengal. Don't take it as otherwise. Whatever thing I am talking about, these are for the Bengal, because Murshid Quli Khan was the Bengal. Okay, so what happened? As I said earlier, Bengal was what? Bengal was successive estates. Bengal was a successive estate. Now, Alivardi Khan broke, before he died, he broke all the marks, all the ties with the Mughal. How? He stopped the Friday prayers under the name of Mughal. The prayer was done under the name of the Nawab of Bengal, that is Murshid Quli Khan, and he stopped giving the taxes and all, whatever he used to do, whatever he want to do, without informing the central Mughal authority. So the main point is that before dying, he broke all the ties with the Mughal Empire, and now the Nawab of Bengal was a separate one. It was not under the Mughal authority. So Alivardi Khan died in the natural death. He actually broke all the marks with the Mughals, like the Friday prayer should be in the name of Bengali rulers, not central Mughal rulers. The succession disputes occurs between his daughter Ghaseti Begum and his grandson Sirajuddaulah. Okay, so now here is the new section. After the death of the Alivardi Khan, remember Alivardi Khan was being supported by the Jagaset brothers, as he used to do support their interest. So he used to give farman in the favor of British and all, as the Jagaset, whatever the scene the Jagaset brothers used to do, he used to do in the favor of them. Okay, and doing anything favor in the merchant bankers, it means you are doing in the favor of British. Okay, now after his death, the succession disputes occurred, and in between whom succession disputes occurred, it occurred between his daughter, that was Ghaseti Begum, and his grandson was Sirajuddaulah. Ultimately, with all the rivalries, with everything happened, at the end Sirajuddaulah became the Nawab of Bengal. Okay, he became the Nawab of Bengal. So this was the cause of Palasi and the Buxar. Like, the rivalry happened between the merchant bankers. So it was like the merchant bankers were not in the favor of all those things, as these succession disputes will occur, and these Jagaset brothers were getting supported by the Alivardi Khan and all. Okay, so so all those things were just a build up of the causes of the Battle of Plassey and the Buxar, but more reasons are there, we will see in the coming slides. Okay, so in the end we will see all those things as well for this topic. So a way towards Palasi, how it happened, how we moved towards the Battle of Palasi. Okay, so after 1756, the series of events occurred eventually that led to your Battle of Palasi 1757 that happened, and the Battle of Buxar in the 1764. And Battle of Buxar made British superior for whole of the world. Just remember this point, it's very important. Okay, and after that our Treaty of Allahabad was signed in the 1765, because the Indian side was lost. They lost the war and British won the war. Okay, so Bengal was one of the erstwhile prosperous region because they have a fertile soil, the Ganga, the Hooghly rivers and all. Okay, so the soil of the region of the Bengal region was fertile, thus the agriculture, the agri things was very high, the product was very high, thus the tax collection, all those things was very high in this region for the Bengal region. And remember, the Bengal is not the current Bengal right now. In that scenario, Jharkhand, Bihar and everything was there. Okay, so it was one of the important state for the generation of the revenue at that time. Okay, now Bengal was the key prosperous state. Was the reason behind it? Agriculture was the fertile area. Bengal has a significant trade market. The trade happened within two routes, oceanic and the land route. Okay, how but the most chosen route was oceanic only, because through the land route they have to travel with the different regions where the plunders and all used to happen. In the northwest region, the India became the famous at that region for the being plundered by where the peacock then was also taken away. Okay, so that's why the most safest routes were taken was the oceanic route. Okay, so the oceanic primarily through the Europeans, and the overland routes component of the Silk Route, another leg of the Silk Route, that was just subheading for that. Okay, the reason for the increase of the trade through the oceanic route was the repeated invasion in the central area, which disrupted the land route. In Bengal, apart from the Jagirdar, the merchants and the bankers were another most important in the structure of the administration, and it was because of the trade was the important sector in the Bengal, and it made the merchants and bankers very prosperous. How? We'll see here, that I've already explained. So it was vast province including Bihar and Odisha at that time. Remember, and Bihar is not current Bihar. Bihar means Bihar and Jharkhand. Okay, and Odisha and your current Bengal. So that much was a big province. Okay, so just imagine how much profitable that province was at that time. Okay, and right now we have a pollution and all, we have lots of buildings and all, so the land is very less, but during that time land was huge. Even right now if you go in the village you will see the great huge lands. Okay, so you can calculate, you can imagine the scenario, what kind of profit at that time was earning. Okay, so who were they? The background for all this story is here. Okay, so the Murshid Kuli consolidated the land holdings, as I said. He consolidated all the lands and all. We'll see here, I will see that Alivardi Khan came into the power. He was the military commander of the Murshid Kuli Khan, and all those things that he established autonomy in the Bengal. He died natural death and all those things we have seen here. Okay, so now we are continuing after his events, that Murshid Kuli consolidated land holdings things was like he captured all those things, the landmarks and part that it should be there, it should be under the government rules, and what kind of the policies and all he would import. He was strict and all, kind of strict. So he cultivated the rise of few big jagir at the expense of a small jagirs. During Mughal ruler, the Jagirda tax collection was not strict. Okay, it at that time it was like, let us suppose if you are unable, if the monsoon hit badly, whether the rainfall was less or the rainfall was more, and if your agricultural product was affected, then you have to pay the less tax. And it was at the time Mughal Empire, but when he was ruling he was strict in that time. Okay, so it means that during Mughal ruler the Jagirda tax collection was not strict. It means relaxation were used to import during the famine or less production of the crops types of situation. But in Murshid Kuli time it made stricter. Jagirdars were bound to pay the revenue in time to Bengali ruler. There could not be any delay. If they failed in collection of the tax, then they used to take short-term loans from the merchant bankers, Jagat Seth brothers, remember. Thus, merchant bankers became very important as they were responsible for the smooth revenue collection of the Bengal, because they were the who for which the administration was running. The source of revenue was they were providing in the situation of harsh situation. Okay. One of the important merchant bankers were Jagat Seth brothers, that were too much close to the British. They played a key role in the elevation of Alivardi Khan. Jagat Seth brothers had the control over the economic and the trade policies of the Bengal, such as the imposition of tax and the tariffs and the policies, and they control the rulers as well, as I've already mentioned here, that they played a key role in the elevation of the Alivardi Khan. Okay, after the natural death of the Alivardi Khan, new ruler, remember this new ruler Sirajuddaulah came, where the Jagat Seth brothers and Sirajuddaulah had a conflict between them, because he understood it is not profitable for the state if we work for in the favor of, if we favor the policies that were implemented by our previous rulers, that were working as per the guidance of these merchant bankers. Okay, so there was a conflict between the Sirajuddaulah and the Jagat Seth brothers. Okay, Jagat brothers plotted against Sirajuddaulah to overthrow him, and this led to the battle of Palasi and the Buxar. Okay, so this was the actual reason that made your battle of Palasi and the Buxar. Okay, so what was the British interest? Till the previous time I am already explained that it was the British interest, but you haven't seen. Okay, it was all the Jagat Seth brothers and all. Now what was the British interest? How British came into the picture? In 1756, the young Nawab Sirajuddaulah came into the power after the bitter succession dispute with the Ghazeti Begum. I have already explained that after the death of Alivardi Khan, there was a dispute between his daughter and the grandson, where the grandson became into the power, and Sirajuddaulah became the emperor. The relation between the young Nawab and the Jagat Seth brothers deteriorated sharply. It was because after the death of Alivardi Khan, who had a strong military commander, at the time in the empire, The Jagat Seth were unable to control the trading policies, and the young Nawab was not complying with their choice of policies. Okay, so it was that the rule that Jagat Seth brothers wanted to do, he was not in the favor of those policies. He said, like, you have to work like the other rulers. Whatever the taxes is being imposed, same taxes should be for the British. Okay, so that's what he explained here. The relationship between the young Nawab and the Jagat Seth brother deteriorated sharply. It was because the Jagat Seth were unable to control the trading policies, and the young Nawab was not complying with the choice of policies. It means like he was tampering into the policies if it is not in the favor of state. Okay, that was his right. Okay, but it was not in the favor of British. Okay, here your British interest comes. How? The British and the French were competing with each other for the trade in India, because the trade with India was highly profitable. Even from the long back, from the Europe, whatever the product that were being sought, it was sold more than the 100% of the actual price. Okay, so the British and the French were competing with each other for the trade in India, especially for the Bengal and the Hyderabad. Bengal was the most prosperous state for that region. Getting monopoly over the trade was the main aim of the British and the French. Okay, and remember, British also fortified in that region, and French also had a fortification in the Bengal region. So Jagat Seth was trying to dictate the trade policy for the Bengal, which was not accepted by the young Nawab, and these policies were actually in the favor of British. That's the British interest, and that's led to your Bengal, the battle of Plassey and the Buxar. Okay, now we will see the battle of Palasi, the main thing for which we are waiting, and after that we will see battle of Buxar as well. So young Nawab refused to comply with the demands of the Jagat Seth brothers, who enjoyed proximity, closeness with the British traders, that is British East India Company, a private trading company, we all know. He was not ready to give all trading rights to the Britishers, and he told them, if you want to trade with the normal traders as other traders used to trade. Same tax you have to pay for the imports, for the exports. You will not get any privilege. That was the condition imposed by the young Nawab Siraj-ud-Dawla. Okay, he started taking actions against the power of both Jagat Seth brothers and the East India Company, with an aim to tackle their influence and the predominant place that was trying to made by East India Company. Now East India Company on the another start giving refuge to the fugitive from the Nawab's court. Now what East India Company was doing, this was the one thing that Nawab was trying to impose, and he imposed at the several places. Now one thing that triggered the Nawab to take strict action for the fights and all. What? Whoever the enemy of the region or let us suppose any refugee of that region, that were started to being supported by the British. How? British started to give them to give them to live into their courts and all. It was like, to whom the Nawabs in the against, British was supporting it, and that attacked the Nawab's superiority. The East India Company on the other hand started to give refuge to the fugitive from the Nawab's court. This was not accepted by the young Nawab. East India Company started fortifying their trading positions in the Calcutta, which was not granted in the Treaty of Trading Policies. Against the policy of the government, the British company started to fortifying the region, and this was a direct challenge to the Nawab. I am fortifying into your region. I will do. I can see if you want, if you can anything do, just do it. We will see. We will face each other, and that's what that led to the Battle of Palasi. So the reason for the fortification of the Calcutta by the East India Company were two things. One was to, let us suppose in the future, if France attacked, so in that scenario, this fortification will help him defending them. Okay, and another was to show the superiority. Okay, so first was to show their strength, second was the Anglo-French rivalry was happened, so to defend themselves from the French attack in the future. So these were the two main reasons Okay, and this directly challenged the Nawab, the young Nawab. Okay, so the young Nawab took these actions as a direct challenge to the authority, that is Sirajuddaulah. He decided to teach a lesson to both Jagat Seth brothers and the Britishers. The Nawab attempted to assert its authority under two things. First known as the Black Hole Tragedy, and another is led to your Battle of Palasi. So what are those things? Two things we will see. So first, Black Hole Tragedy that happened, and it was very extremely cruel. Okay, that triggered the British at the time. What it was done in an armed manner. He charged over the forts of trading places at Calcutta. He imprisoned many traders in a very suffocating kind of, that is gas chamber. Remember that Nazis and the thing, Hitler kind of things, that he packed these officials of the British into a suffocating chambers, and where around 25 traders were died. Okay, were dead. Okay, so the suffocating kind of prison which results in a death of 25 traders. This was called as the Black Hole Tragedy, and remember this term. What do you understand by the Black Hole Tragedy? This is the scenario where this Dollar imprisoned many traders of the British in the defending of the forts that were fortifying with the Britishers. In that case, he, as an attack in an armed manner, he killed the few traders of the British in a suffocating manner, that is known as the Black Hole Tragedy. So the Robert Clive, in charge of the army at the time of the East India Company, he marched toward the Bengal from the southern India. This led to your Battle of Palasi as a reaction of this Black Hole Tragedy. So the Battle of Palasi was taken place. It was a bloodless coup. Why is it bloodless coup? We will see that it was not fought at all. Why? What happened? What Jagat Seth brothers did, he corrupted the military of the Nawab, young Nawab. Now what happened when war was triggered for the fight, the Battle of Palasi was triggered. In that case, most of their military people, the soldiers and all, they refused to take part in that war, or they were just acting in the war that I am fighting. Okay, and thus the fight was never happened. Fight didn't happen. In that case, few were military teams were there who fought bravely, and because of them some harms happened to the British. And at last the young Sirajuddaulah, who fled the Bengal at that time. Okay, and this was the Battle of Plassey. That's why it is known as a bloodless coup. Okay, that not actual fought where no much damage happened. Okay, so it was not a battle but merely a skirmish. Even when the battle broke out, Jagat Seth brothers joined with the British in trying to limit the Nawab's authority. Jagat Seth brothers convinced the military commander of the Sirajuddaulah, Mir Jafar. Remember, after that Mir Jafar will be set on the throne. Okay, so Mir Jafar to join hand with the British. Mir Jafar gave a call to the troop to the mobilize against the British, but more than half of his army on the battlefield did not obey his order. They were not obeying order because they were already triggered that you don't have to obey his order. Okay, and the reason was that the Mir Jafar and the Jagat Seth brothers joined the hand with the British, and thus Sirajuddaulah was forced to surrender, and Mir Jafar was eventually made a new Nawab at the time, and thus the Indian side lost the Battle of Palasi. And now you will see how we will move for the Battle of Buxar. Okay, so after effect, now the Britishers were fighting this war. Why British were fighting this war? What was the reason behind it? The only aim to live into the India, to do all those tactics and all, it was to trade. Now in the trading thing, who came? Portuguese came, then Dutch and all came, then after the French came. They just wanted to move those rivalries to just get what? To just get monopoly. Okay, so the British were fighting this war to get the monopoly over the trading rights and the policies overall region. So Mir Jafar was partly forced by the Jagat Seth brothers and the British to sign the treaty, that the Palasi plunder, and the terms of treaty was that whatever the loss happened, you have to pay. And actually there was no loss to the British. It was, as I said, the bloodless coup war. No fight actually taken place at the time Okay, and it was like now the British were going to use this Mir Jafar as a sone ki chiriya like of things, like where I will tell them you have to give things and he will give that thing. Okay, so the terms of this treaty led to the huge financial drain from the Bengal, such as an immediate cost of the British forced Indian to pay about 3 lakh pounds for the war compensation. And actually the war didn't happen at the time. And then also they had to pay 3,000 pounds, 3 lakh pounds for the war compensation. From 1757 to 1762, they imposed a war penalty again of rupees 22.5 million rupees. So earlier they had to pay 3 lakh pounds as a war compensation, and after that again the fine was imposed 22.5 million rupees. Okay, thus both the compensation gave huge boost to the financial of the East India Company, and it was a huge profit for the company. So it was like they understand these wars are profit for them. So they even got the tax-free trading rights at the Bengal with the trading monopoly, because Mir Jafar was under the hand of the Jagat Seth brothers, and it means French were kept out from the trading privileges in the Bengal because the governments are being run by the British only. So that's why the French was kept out at the time, and thus British got the monopoly due to this Battle of Palasi. Okay, so it can be seen that the war was actually not a huge loss or a blood drain war, and the Britishers were imposing huge war compensation. It was just simply for free. I'm putting my hand in a purse and I'm getting a wallet, I'm getting money from it without anything, without doing jobs and all. It was like that. So this was actually a complete beneficial war for them. Thus, the huge compensation imposed by the British does not allow Mir Jafar to set up any economic autonomy on the state, and it was that the Mir Jafar was also understanding that what I am doing right now and what is being thing is done for the state, and he was not getting anything. The state was in loss. Actually, whatever thing, if you are sitting in a throne, you have to run a state. People will come for any reasons, and people will come for with complaints, and if the people will say this king is unable to do anything, what is the use for it? Okay, so this Mir Jafar was also understanding that I am useless. Sorry for this small glitch, there was some technical issue. Okay, so thus the huge compensation was imposed on the British that does not allow Mir Jafar to set up any economic autonomy on the state. So he paid initial compensation, but later compensation demanded was refused by him, because he was also understanding that it is like you are draining the state and I'm useless here for that. I don't have any power and all. Okay, so this resulted the replacement of Mir Jafar by the Mir Qasim. Okay, after that, when the British saw that he is also defending those things, so they replaced the Mir Jafar with the Mir Qasim. Later, Mir Qasim also realized that the Britishers were imposing that this compensation will ultimately let them with no financial backup, and these are foreign traders. They will go and this state will completely bankrupt kind of things. So they don't have any money and all. They don't have financial backup. Okay, so he realized if he also raises his voice against it, so it will lead to overthrow him. Okay, as the Mir Jafar was overthrown by the Mir Qasim. Mir Qasim was understanding all those things, and he also had a fear that if he raises his voice, then he will be overthrown. So in Awadh, the Nawab was Sirajuddaulah. Okay, here the Sirajuddaullah's cousin Sujauddaulah. Remember Nawab Sirajuddaulah, and sometimes I have renamed as Sirajuddaulah Sujauddaulah. Don't confuse. So Sirajuddaulah was the Nawab, and his cousin was Sujauddaulah. That was in the Awadh. Okay, the central Mughal ruler was Shah Alam II at the time. So, okay, so what are the three things? One was central, one was your Awadh, and another was your Bengal. Okay, Bengal region. So these three will together fight a war with the British that will lead to a battle of Buxar, and they will lose. So the central Mughal emperor was Shah Alam II. Okay, the Mir Qasim wanted to make a grand alliance against the British, as he knew if he raises his voice, he will be overthrown. So this alliance led to the battle of Buxar. And the reason for coming the alliance was the threat imposed in the future by the British, as the Bengal was already in the capture of them. So Awadh was also in the fear. If we didn't take action right now, they will again move forward, and they will capture Awadh as well. Okay. Similarly, Central Mughal authority was also in the fear. The British is becoming more powerful, and at the end they may capture our regions as well. and they have a technological equipments as well for the fight and all. Okay, so the British was also seen as external power for them. So however, the result of alliance was not very good, and they lost the Battle of Buxar that we will see right now. Okay, so the Battle of Buxar and the significance of it. So the Battle of Buxar broke out in the 1764, where the British defeated the joint forces of the Bengal, Awadh, and the Central Mughal authority, and this was a huge thing for the whole world, that the British defeated those three things. You remember during the Aurangzeb time, when the British raised the war against the Mughal, they lost it. They lost it at the time. Okay, so this resulted in imposition of another treaty with the more war compensation. As they lost it, now the British started to impose more war compensation. At the Battle of Palasi, it was nothing for the British, and then also they imposed the war compensation. Now the British thought, again they fought a war, I will impose the war compensation for them. Okay, so the East India Company imposed the humiliating Treaty of Allahabad in the 1765, and the conditions on the treaties were that Awadh should pay war compensation immediately, and they should be granted tax-free trading rights at Awadh. Later it will be imposed, that will revoked, but it was that. So Awadh should pay war compensation immediately, and they should be granted tax-free trading rights for the Awadh. In Bengal, they demanded certain amount of revenue collection rights. British residents were to be posted in Murshidabad, that is the capital of Bengal at the time, so that British residents will keep informed all the key policies that is going to take place. And they got indirect control in the Bengal. It was like literally this Battle of Buxar made them to rule Bengal as a governorship. Okay, they were the governor at the time. The cause of both Palasi and the Buxar, what was the cause behind it? The assertive policies of the young Nawab Sirajuddaulah, or the bitter section of the dispute between the Siraj and the Ghazeti Begum, gave the British and Jagat Seth brothers an opportunity to intervene. During that, the two Jagat Seth brothers concluded into that, and they made Ghazeti Begum some outside their people into their side, and this led to a war and all. Okay, and that's why during the fight, the war, the most of the military people backed up. Okay, Anglo-French rivalry and the English attempt to drive the French out of the region. Okay, they wanted to kick out the French people from that region to get a monopoly for the trade. Jagat Seth brothers, who felt threatened by the accession of the young Nawab, and collided with the Britishers. Okay, because he was not complying with the policies that may benefit to the Jagat Seth brothers, and that's why Jagat Seth brothers join hand with the British. Okay, what was the significance of the both Battle of Palasi and the Buxar? It boosted the finance of the East India Company. 100% true. That I've already seen. Through these battles, the British established their toehold in the region. Okay, it was like they completely got the full control for the region, and it does not mean British established their complete authority in India, because there were some other like the Maratha and all, they were not in under their control. So it was whatever I am talking about. These are for the Awadh, Bengal, Deccan, Hyderabad regions, and all whatever the things that we had discussed. Okay, it gave a great control in that region. Okay, so that was the Battle of Buxar. So all those things we have discussed right now, Battle of Palasi and the Buxar, all those background is clear right now, or whatever the things I have discussed. Now we will move forward with your Bipin Chandra book content. Okay, so from here you will find those text in the book as well. Okay, the France conflict, how the France conflict benefited the British at the time. Okay, so it is like whatever the conflict happened with the British, that was a rehearsal for them, and that benefited them in the winning Battle of Palasi and the Buxar. Okay, so whatever things we have discussed right now, Battle of Palasi and the Buxar, it was like the British already had a rehearsal with the French war that was happening throughout the world with America and all. Okay, and when they fought in the Battle of Palasi and the Buxar, they already had a taste of war. How to win the war. Okay, that the divide and rule, that is a very famous thing, the divide and rule, as I've seen in the Ghazeti Begum and the Sirajuddaulah case. In that case, what happened? They fought with the divide and rule policy. Okay, so the British political sway over the Indian started from the Battle of Palasi in the 1757, when the British East India Company's force defeated Sirajuddaulah, the Nawab of Bengal, earlier rivalry of the British with the France led to a rehearsal for them, and that's why they literally won the Battle of Palasi without any much effort. Okay, the lesson learned gave the benefits in the Bengal. So whatever the lesson they learned with the rivalry with the France, that they made them to won in the Battle of Palasi, that we have already discussed in the previous part. You can go through it, part 2 of this chapter. Okay, so the Bengal was the most fertile and the richest in provinces that we discussed. Industries and commerce were well developed. Companies secured royal privileges in the 17th century with the farman that they got from the royal front by the Mughal Emperor, which granted the company the freedom to export and import their goods in the Bengal without paying taxes, and right to issue passes or the dastaks for the movement of such goods. So it was like they already got a farman during that period, and the freedom, the British got the rights and all. So that's why it was that in Sirajuddaulah revoked all those policies that you will not get a special farman and all. And at the time, all those people, all those kings were against of it, whatever the farmans were giving at the time. Okay, so the company's servants were allowed for the trade, but not included under the privilege. Who were the company servant? Company servants were Indian people only. Okay, even maybe the British people. So this farman became the source of conflict between British and the Nawab of Bengal. What was the source of conflict? Because the farman or the dastak, that was the token kind of thing that was granted, were misused. It was like, I will give my dastak to my friend and he will utilize it. Okay, that kind of thing, corruption was happening at that time. Okay, so the loss of revenue of the Bengal government started due to the misuse of these dastaks and the farman, misuse of the farman by the company's servants. Okay, so that was one of the scenario. So English, every action has a reaction. So okay, so now as the Battle of Palasi happened, where the Sirajuddaulah imposed certain restriction on it, and that led to your Battle of Palasi. That's what it is mentioned, that English, for the English, every action has a reaction, where that was the action was taken by the Sirajuddaulah and the reaction was given by the English, and in which the Battle of Palasi he lost. So the English officials took refuge at the Fulta near the sea, protected by the naval superiority, as when the Sirajuddaulah attacked his fort and all, and this event, this black hole tragedy was taken place at the time. Okay, so after that black hole tragedy, so the refugees of the time in the Fulta, they took the refugees at that place, and they waited for the aid from the Madras, and meanwhile they conspired and made the people of Nawab under their side. As I already said, the Jagar Seth brothers with the Mir Qasim and all, Mir Jafar and all those collided together, and they made all those corruption within the force of the Sirajuddaulah. Okay, so Jagar Seth brothers, a banker, made all this conspiracy, where Mir Jafar, Mir Bakshi, Manik Chand, the officer in charge of Calcutta, etc., came into the side of Britishers, and when the war was fighting, the 50%, more than 50% of the army backed up. Okay, they were actually not following the orders of the military commander. And why was it that? Because they were already told to do so. Okay, so from Madras, a strong naval and the military force came under the Admiral Watson, and the Colonel Clive came at the time. They conquered Calcutta in the 1757, 1756 and all, and compelled the Nawab to concede all the demands of the English. Okay, and the Sirajuddaulah fled away, and after that Mir Jafar was made the Nawab of the Bengal. So they conspired as the Sirajuddaulah fled away. So they conspired the Mir Jafar to set on the throne. That I'm already repeating those things, as I said in the starting only. So the Battle of Palasi, held in 1757, which was just a battle only in the name. In all, English lost 29 men, and while the Nawab lost 500 men. Okay, so traitors Mir Jafar and the other did not participate in the war, as what was happening at that time, they were not the soldiers were not following the orders of the military commander. Why? Because they were already told to do so. Only a small group fought bravely, and well, the Nawab was forced to flee and put to death by the Mir Jafar's sons Mirran at the time. Okay, and we will see how the Battle of Buxar will take place. At the time, Sirajuddaulah was not there. Sirajuddaullah's cousin Sirajuddaulah, that was ruling the Nawab of Awadh, that's the ruling the Awadh. So Awadh, Awadh central ruler and the Nawab, three tied together and will lead to a Battle of Buxar. So Battle of Palasi, importance. The Battle of Palasi was an immense historical importance which paved the way for the British mastery of Bengal and eventually for the whole India. The control over Bengal played a decisive role in the Anglo-French struggle, and even though Mir Jafar was given a Bengal throne, soon also he realized that the treasury was quickly emptied by the demand of company's officials. And by what kind of demand? The compensation, as we have already discussed, the compensation, 3 lakh pounds and other some or more rupees was demanded in the second compensation for it. Okay, so the Colonel Malleson said at the time, the single aim of the company's officials was to grasp all they could, whatever they is possible, they could do it, to use Mir Jafar as a golden sack into which they could dip their hand at pleasure, and they will ask whatever they want, and he has to give it because they have made them to sat on the throne. Okay, the company started to suck all the wealth from the Bengal's Nawab for their own feet, for their states like Bombay and the Madras Presidency. Later he all realized, this Mir Jafar, and renounced the throne in the favor of his son-in-law. So as he realized that I am unable to do so, he renounced his throne to his son-in-law Mir Qasim. And for this to happen, from Mir Jafar to Mir Qasim to given to his son-in-law, for this he had to grant jamindari to company's officials for various regions. So understand, for this switch also he had to pay many things to the British. Okay, and later that we will see that Battle of Buxar was happened. Okay, so it was Sujauddaulah, I guess, wanted to teach no, Sirajuddaulah, yes. So all the Nawab of Bengal from Murshid Quli Khan to Aliwardi Khan opposed the Farman of 1717 at the time when this thing was happening. So all the Nawab of Bengal, Murshid Quli Khan and the Aliwardi Khan, they all opposed this Farman that was given to the British at the time. Okay, so that was granted by Farooq Siyar at the time. Who Farooq Siyar we have already discussed in the chapter 1. So as it was completely misused by the servants of the company. So matter rose when Aliwardi Khan's grandson succeeded Sirajuddaulah and ordered the British to trade like other traders. No more privilege will be given to you. In 1756, like the Murshid Quli Khan, English refused as they felt superior as they got victory over French in the south. As I said that the victory from the French was a practice for them. Okay, this is again repeating. Okay, this content is again repeating. Okay, it is before the Battle of Palasi. So instead of paying tax to Nawab, British imposed heavy duty on Indian goods importing in Calcutta, which was under their control. This naturally made young Nawab, that Sirajuddaulah, annoyed. Sorry, this is correct. Sirajuddaulah annoyed and angered. The breaking point of Nawab when the British started to fortify Calcutta in order to protect from the French future attack, who was stationed at Chandernagore without permission of the Nawab, and this was directly attack for the superiority of the Nawab. So Sirajuddaulah interpreted it as an attack on its sovereignty, a private company fortifying land under independent ruler and carrying a private war without the permission of him. So this, they were acting as a master, not a merchant. He ordered both French and English to demolish their fortification at Chandernagore and Calcutta. French agreed to do so. French was already said at that time also that he will work under the British as well. Okay, the French agreed, but the British did not confidence for getting victories in the Carnatic. As the British had the confidence, recently they won the war in the Carnatic region. Thus they had a confidence and they did not obey the law. Okay, so the charter of East India Company was further expired in the 1693, but due to the bribing the parliament, the ministers of East India Company maintained its monopoly, where the company was fulfilled aim to suck all the revenue from the India in order to make up the bribes paid to the ministers. It means that they bribed the English parliament and the Britain, they bribed the Britain parliament, and they had a backup from the military force from the British, and thus they had the full confidence. If we want to fight war, I am ready to fight the war. We already won the war. We had a taste of it. We will won. Okay, we would won all those things. So that kind of confidence was there. So suck all the revenues from. Okay, so Sirajuddaulah decided to make them obey the laws of land. In June 1756, with the haste and the great energy, but without much preparation, he seized the fort of Williams of the Calcutta, where that I have just now black hole tragedy, where the around 25 officials of the British were dead in suffocating chamber. As I've already explained, many officials were killed. He assumed to as a victory for him. No, attack happened, reaction happened from the British side, and this led to your Battle of Palasi, that from the Madrasi and the British government ran. Okay, Now, and that battle of Palasi happened and we lost. So Mir Qasim soon became the threat for the British. At the time, he was an able, efficient, strong, determined to free himself. So 1 second, I will tell you this slide is on the previous one, and after that this slide will come. There is some switching happened. Sorry for this small glitch. Okay, so Mir Qasim soon became the threat for the British. He was an able, efficient, strong, determined to free himself from the foreign control. He realized that a full treasury and efficient army were essential to maintain his independence. He tried to improve administration, train their military and modern European line. He attempted to check the misuse of Farman 27, which was not liked by the British and hurting the Indian merchant interest. Okay, that's what happening at the time that will lead for the Battle of Buxar. Okay, so further company illegally sold dastak to free passes to friendly Indian merchants to evade internal customs duties. This ruined the honest Indian merchants' interest. Britishers were forcing the Indian merchants to sell their product at a cheap and buy their product at the dear. Else they were flogged and imprisoned. Mir Qasim realized these steps that against the favor of the Bengal government and its independence. He abolished all the internal duties on the internal trade for Indian merchants. This was not accepted to the alien merchants, that is the British. And two masters in Bengal was happening. It was like one was the Bengal, another was the British, and this led to your Battle of Buxar. Okay, so the series of battle broke out in the 1763, where Mir Qasim were defeated and ran to the Awadh. He formed an alliance with the Shuja-ud-Dawla, the Nawab of Awadh, and the Shah Alam II, and the fugitive Mughal Emperor, and this was lost, as the Battle of Buxar was lost for the Indian territory, and the British won that war. The three allies met at the Buxar in the 1764 and they were thoroughly defeated. It was most decisive defeat in the Indian history, which proved India as a superior against two major Indian powers. This proved British as a superior against two major Indian powers, and this thing was spread all over the world. Okay, so it firmly established Britain as a master of Bengal, Bihar, and Odisha, and placed Awadh at its mercy. And later, what is the imposition happened? He left Awadh, but thoroughly whole control of the Bengal came under the British. So authority of government transferred from Nawab to the company in 1763. British had restored Mir Jafar as Nawab and collected huge sum of money. Okay, after his death, his second son Nizam-ud-Dawla placed in the throne by signing a new treaty of 1765, where deputy Suhabdar will be appointed by the company and can't be dismissed without their approval. Now see how British is going to control the government. How they place their one person into their court, and whatever the things is going to happen for the whole court, the decision should be taken the prior permission with that person. And who is that person? Deputy Subhadar. Okay, so he was appointed by the company and can't be dismissed without his approval. Most of the army administration were selected by the Deputy Subhadar, thus they had a full control of the Bengal. From Shah Alam to still the titular head of the Mughal, the company secured the Diwani, or the right to collect revenue from the Bihar, Bengal, and Odisha. So in return, company paid 26 lakh rupees and secured the districts of Kora and Allahabad for him, for the central Mughal authority. The emperor resides in the fort of Allahabad for 6 years as a prisoner only. Nawabs were paid for the company for the maintenance for army inside the court, and the alliance made the Nawab a dependent company. So it is like whole threat that the British was controlling the administration as well, where they place their one person, that Deputy Subhadar, within the court, and he will monitor, he will control all the things that is happening within the region. Even the appointment of Deputy Subhadar and even the removal of the Deputy Subhadar will be under the control of the British only. Okay, so this was all about this for the part 3. I hope you have liked this video. Please like and subscribe. If you have any doubts, please ping me on my Twitter handle. If you want this PPT or any other help you want, just ping me on my Twitter handle or the comment in the section. That will benefit for me. Thank you.